Hi, and welcome back to Citizens Forum, Part 2. We're going to be talking about 9/11 in this segment of the show. 9/11 was about 11 years and 5 months ago, and to me, I wanted to talk about it because it is still, I think, one of the most important events of literally of decades, because it really, to me, just seems to have made things so much worse. I mean, there's been massive wars ever since the day of 9/11. Hundreds of thousands of innocent people in the Middle East have been killed. Canada has been at war 2 or 3 times since 9/11. Trade deals have been put in place because of it. Personal freedoms, civil rights have come under tremendous assault. There's a deal between Canada and the United States that nobody knows about called the New Border Vision, which is talking about one border around Canada and the United States and kind of getting rid of the border between us because we have to protect ourselves from the 9/11 terrorists. But what if the whole story isn't really true, the official story? That's what I think, and that's what our guest Paul Stein thinks. Paul is with a group called We Are Change, and we're going to run through a few things, starting with 7 basic facts of 9/11. Maybe you can...
Yeah, well, you know, there's a lot of facts about 9/11, and you can be inundated with tons of information. I think that's what most people kind of get detracted about, because, again, it comes down to, you're talking about nanothermite, and you're talking about really high-level stuff that your common individual doesn't know anything about. So what I've compiled is just 7 basic facts that, you know, anybody can really, truly just understand just by simply observation, physical observation. And I gave you the first example, which was the tilting of the building. The first building collapsed, you saw the corner of it collapse and it tilted to a 45-degree angle, and I said how I thought it would fall to the ground, but it didn't. It kind of tipped back upright, and then it went down within the path of least resistance. So a perfect example I'll give you to that, Jack, is I play guitar, and I play guitar all the time, and I put my guitar down next to my couch the other day, and my wife came in, and what had happened was the guitar wasn't secured, and it started to slide, and my dog was sitting on the ground, and right away my dog looked up at me, put its tail between his legs and ran away, and then what do you know, a big clong, you know, and I had to retune it and everything. But that's just a simple example of how basic scientific facts a dog can know.
So you're saying you saw the first building that collapsed on 9/11 began to tilt and then suddenly kind of blew up and went straight down.
Yeah, in the path of least resistance.
Into the path of greatest resistance.
Or greatest resistance, that's what I mean, yeah, in the path of greatest resistance. Now, mind you, I kind of fell for the official story because of the shock and awe, the emotional attachment, the narration with what I was visualizing. But at the end of the day, that doesn't make sense. Gravity should have continued to pull that down that way.
That's number 1. Number 2?
So number 1. Number 2 was the smoke. Again, I used the word the raging inferno, and you hear a lot of media and politicians talk about the raging inferno. I go camping 3 times a year, and who likes to sit in front of a fire that's smoking in your face? Well, a fire that's smoking in your face is either have not wet wood or doesn't have proper oxygen. So when you look at the actual footage of 9/11, which there's tons online, you can easily see, what do you see? Do you see raging inferno, or do you see billowing black smoke?
That's right. You see billowing black smoke, meaning that the fires were not burning cleanly and were not really hot.
That's correct. So again, there's the word inferno, whereas that's not an inferno. So it's very important to put a narration with the visual in order to fool people. Another word that they use is collapse. The building didn't collapse. It got blown up. It was exploded. And you can clearly see that by seeing all the ejections. You know, I don't know all the numbers and all the stats, but there was chunks of the building that weighed up to 100 tons, 500 meters across the street, embedded in another one. What kind of energy does that come from?
Exactly. So, I mean, that's a point that, you know, you just say it and it goes by, but really stop and think that pieces of the building weighing 100 tons were ejected and found how far away?
I don't know the exact numbers, but in a building that's 2 or 3 blocks away, and it's embedded in the side of it. And when you take a look at the actual the far away footage of the building collapsing, you can see these big chunks being pushed horizontally out and falling,
seen it.
equivalent to this rate of the speed that the building is collapsing. So it's
so you're saying, and I'm saying that these buildings were brought down by explosives one way or another.
I don't know. I'm not an explosive technician. I'm not anything except a citizen that just knows, been to college, and that's it. But I do know one thing, that they weren't raging infernos, that they were billowing smoke.
Okay.
So
point
that's a simple fact.
Point number 3 or point number 4? I'm not
Point
sure.
number 3 was simple math, grade 1. 1 plus 2 equals
4.
Well, that's Orwellian math. But really, what it comes down to is, how can 2 planes take out 3 buildings? And most people don't know about World Trade Center building number 7, which is also called the Solomon Buildings building. And to put it in perspective, View Towers, which is located on Yates and Quadra, I think is one of the tallest buildings here in Victoria. And I think it's about 18 to 20 stories. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not too sure. World Trade Center 7 was 47 stories. So put that on top. Put 2 View Towers on top of each other. That's pretty big for a building just to come down within 10 seconds in a symmetrical collapse.
For people who don't know, 3 buildings collapsed on 9/11.
No, they didn't collapse.
Oh, I'm sorry.
See, there's
3
that programming
buildings,
word again. And it's very important that we say that, because that's what we've been programmed to say, is collapse.
3 buildings came down.
They were demolished. Absolutely.
3 buildings were brought down
Absolutely.
on 9/11. No steel frame building before or since has ever come down because of fire. It has never happened. And from everything I've read, and I've looked into this more than a lot of people at least, the buildings were designed to take the impact of an airplane, and there's no way, everyone seems to say, that an airplane could have brought World Trade Centers 1 and 2 down. Engineers, architects, more than 1,000 of them in a group just say that isn't what happened, but it never gets reported and the issue never gets discussed, but it's an important issue. Our world was changed because of it. Point 4.
Point 4. I call it the tampering, the eliminating, and the fabricating of evidence. For example, right after 9/11, the first thing that happened was that they brought in military and FEMA to guard the road so that we could have dump trucks coming in and out and taking the evidence and shipping on a barge over to China. That was the very first thing that they did. So the rule of law and under the criminal code says this: you can't tamper with evidence at a crime scene. Well, the actual investigation of 9/11 happened 422 days. That's just about a year and a half after the event. So how can you make an investigation when the evidence was tampered with? It was taken away. How can you do a proper investigation? You can't. So that's what I consider tampering. I also call the eliminating of evidence, which is the dump trucks taking it off over shores to China to be melted down, so you can never, ever, ever have any evidence again. It's eliminating the murder weapon. And the fabricating of evidence, I would argue that there's a story that most people know about the passport that landed on the ground from one of the hijackers that was in the plane.
And that was used at the time to set the scene.
Absolutely. So how did it come out of his pocket? Why would he carry a boarding, in his pocket anyway? So it comes out of his pocket, it goes through the fireball, it goes through the plane, it goes through the building, and it comes down and it lands on some guy's foot who happens to be next to some FBI agent to hand it over to him. These are all fabricating pieces of evidence, in my opinion. I don't know this for a fact, but it's a hard story to believe, So that's my number 4, is those kind of tampering, eliminating, and fabricating of evidence. The number 5th is Osama bin Boogeyman. Really, Osama bin Laden was supposed to be the prime suspect, but even though he denied all involvement in it, he ended up being murdered and then dumped overboard. So there's another piece of evidence that is eliminated. He's been dumped overboard into the ocean, and then what happened subsequently after that, allegedly, the Navy SEALs that captured him got redeployed to Iraq, in which they died in, I believe, a helicopter accident or something like that. So there's more evidence that's been eliminated. And as any, you watch Hollywood movies, and these psychopaths, what do? They eliminate all evidence. Why? So that you can never have a proper trial. So this is just basic common sense that people got to ask the question, who is Osama bin Boogeyman? Who created Osama bin Boogeyman? we know that the Bush family is very, what do you call that? They're just in cahoots with the Bin Laden family. You can look at that, right? Like it's
and yet nobody knows. I mean, it's kept quiet.
It's kept
that
quiet.
The Bush family and the Bin Laden family were doing business. It's kept quiet that Osama bin Laden worked for the American military or the CIA in the decade prior to the attack or non-attack. I mean, he was working with the Americans. He was being paid by the Americans, and yet this is kind of kept quiet.
And then his whole death, like there's been a lot of talk that he died in 2002 in dialysis. Benazir Bhutto, I don't know if you remember who she is, but she was, I think, the Prime Minister of India or Pakistan or something.
Trying to be.
She was murdered, but she gave a public testimony on BBC saying that, talking about some group of people that killed Osama bin Laden. Yeah. Now, whether or not it was the same Osama bin Laden, who knows? But there's lots of evidence.
But I think we feel, and I think a lot of people do feel, that the official story cannot be correct. So let's move on to point 6.
Let's move on to number 6. Number 6 for me is a big one. There's never been a trial in any lawful court, in any respected court, whether that be community court, whether that be Supreme Court, federal court, tribunal, international law. Never once has there been a court where Osama bin Laden or any of his accomplices have been found guilty. And therefore, to me, that goes against what I've learned about the rule of law. The Canadian Bill of Rights says it respects the supremacy of God, the human worth, the human person, and the rule of law. And that only free societies and free people can work, can be established in a society which governs the rule of law. Now, since when can you be guilty without even having a trial? So that's just you need a trial. Unless you're in people's court, you can be found guilty without a trial.
He's been, tried, convicted, and killed without a trial. I mean, there's never been a trial about the official story. Does it make any sense?
That's right. So that one to me, the rule of law is important to me because that's how you have, that's how you can put check marks on the people that actually help or control, not control, but govern your society.
Okay. Point 7.
So that's that.
Last one.
Last one is that it is a fact that George Bush admitted after the first attack. He was on TV and he admitted that. He initiated what he called he implemented the emergency response plan, the government's emergency response plan. And he said he did that immediately after the first attack. Now the first attack was at 8:46. And yet George Bush entered into the classroom for his photo opportunity at 9:05 in the morning. So if he knew and if he had implemented the national emergency, why would he go into a court or into a classroom of children and put their lives at risk?
And those are just some of the questions. I mean, to me, the other important question, when I really began, I remember the first thing that really made me think about the whole issue was months and months after 9/11. Aside from some information I got from Will Thomas, who was a great journalist around this area, I started to see pictures of the Pentagon. Someone in France wrote a book showing pictures of the Pentagon with no evidence of an airplane.
Yeah.
And that's always been the fact ever since. There is no evidence of an airplane at the Pentagon. You can see pictures of the front lawn with the firemen there fighting the fires in the Pentagon, and the lawn looks like a golf course. There's simply nothing there. Why did the U.S. Air Force sit on the ground?
Yeah, they didn't intercept the planes for half an hour, yeah.
And there's no reason for that. I mean, here we have the biggest Air Force in the world, primed for such an event. They do it routinely, they practice it, and yet on the day they basically were stood down. The buildings, what brought them down? The fire theory is just not. I mean, one thing that somebody told me is why were 350 firemen killed in the buildings on that day? And the answer was because they knew it was safe to go into those buildings. As safe as it can be to go into a building on fire, they knew that all they had to do was fight the fires. They didn't have to worry about buildings coming down because that is impossible. They were killed by whoever.
They were murdered, absolutely. And there was 24 Canadians that were murdered that day too. Yeah. And our government has never done any investigation. They just take hearsay from George Bush and the other
And the
elites,
media.
and the media,
And the media.
and they pursue it, you know. So
Let's talk about the role of the media, because this never could have happened without at least the agreement of the media to never ask a question.
well, yeah, that's correct. I think they were actually involved. My opinion is that they were the critical part of that day in order to perpetuate the lie. One of the things that I found very funny is that within half an hour of the first building falling, CNN had a guy come in named Jerome Hauer, and he was the CIA correspondent for CNN. And he goes on to talk about how it's Osama bin Laden and his boogeymen from caves in Afghanistan. They show this picture of this
I
elaborate.
mean, right off the bat?
Right off the bat. Like, why would the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, now give all of their information about this?
But they had it within half an hour,
exactly.
you said?
Yeah, so the media is there to manipulate the viewer's perception. And so the media guy says, this looks like it could be some kind of planted explosions. Is it possible that these Osama bin Laden somehow got into the building? Because he's not privy to this information. And so Jerome Hauer says, oh, of course not. No, this is not. This is a rogue element out there. And then it continues on.
If you watch, I mean, if you rewatch the events of the day, you hear the reporters on the scene, who are just honest reporters, talking about hearing explosions in the buildings.
Absolutely,
They can hear
yeah.
explosions over and over and over again. Everybody's talking about it. And yet, after the day, it's all hushed up, no questions asked, it's covered up, no one is allowed to speak about it. Anyone in a position of any power or responsibility who dared to say the things we're saying now would have been removed from that position. You know, maybe now, 11 years later, you can almost get away with it. Paul, we're almost out of time.
Sure.
One more pointer about 9/11. Anything you want to say about it?
No, I just encourage people to be open-minded. A big thing that I've heard a lot is that this can borderline hate speech, and I think it's important to understand that you need a free society to speak about intellectual conversations like this, because the minute you duct tape someone's mouth is the minute you duct tape everybody else's ears. And I think it's important that people look into this, and if they have questions, that they search for people like myself and groups in Victoria, such as wearechange.victoria.org, that help you along the way, that are there to give you counseling, and not counseling, but to be there as a reinforcement.
Give us some websites.
A couple good websites to see is ae911truth.org. Architects. AE
911truth.org.
Yeah, that's an architects and engineers website. There's another one called 911consensus.com. Very good one. It again, it's a lot of professionals that have brought their professional opinion on it. There's a local website, vic911truth.org. Talks a lot about the events and gives you a lot of links to it. So,
Paul, we're out of time. Thank you so much, and thank you for watching this segment about 9/11 on Citizens Forum. Welcome back to part 3 of Citizens Forum. I just want to thank our volunteer camera people and technicians, as well as the Shaw staff who oversee all of this and make sure that this program gets filmed and shown on television. I think it's very, very wonderful that community TV exists. Our guest for the third segment is Bill Woollam. Bill's from Duncan. And we're going to be talking about the law of attraction, how affirmations work. Now, I'm not sure what that means, so Bill, why don't you just fill us in?
Well, I've come to understand over the years that what we dream about, what we wish for, what we believe in, we attract into our life. So, one, it's important to be careful of the desires that we hold inside. It's important to be aware of the kind of things that we believe in, because we just might get that. And an example is a friend of mine, he works in Victoria, and I won't say where, but he was on his way to work and he saw a beautiful Datsun red 240Z Datsun. And he thought to himself, oh, I'd love to have that car. And I don't know, a couple of months later, he phoned me and he was laughing and he said, you know, that car's for sale and the guy works in my office. And sure enough, he phoned him up and they made a deal. He got a very good price for the Datsun 240C. But it's the moral of that little story is that it started with just that little desire, just that little belief. Oh, I would really love that. I can imagine myself in that car.
So you're saying that the things you keep in your mind and the things we think about and want are possibly things that could happen. So if we're thinking about negative or bad things, it's not so good. We should be thinking.
Okay, now I tend to stay away from the words negative and bad, good and bad. How about dreams that are going to be life-supporting? They're going to not only help myself, but help my family, help my community, help my country, and help the world. So that's the way I look at a dream and desire. Is it life-supporting? Is it, in Eastern teaching, they would say, is it dharmic? Dharmic means upholds society. Or is it destructive? Is it life-damaging? Is it selfish, only self-interest and could cause harm to family or
community.
Or community or the environment. So it's important to be aware of what kind of desires we hold in our heart. And that's why I'll just use this one because it's very common. I mean, if a man or a woman holds the desire to have an affair, it's just a thought. But just to keep nurturing that thought, keep feeding it a little bit. Oh, there he is again, and pretty soon that little thought, it grows, just like any other desire would grow, and we would attract that into being fulfilled. And so then now was that healthy when we just lost our wife, not with our kids anymore, just lost the house? So we've got to be careful of the consequences of our beliefs, of our desires, of our intentions, because we just might get it and probably will get it.
So how does, I think you call that maybe mind talk, the things that are in your mind?
Yeah, mind talk is, say as a little child, some parent or relative or sister or brother shamed us, said, oh, you're stupid. You're always stupid. They never turned it around and gave us a little bit of, oh, that was really intelligent.
Or
well,
school. I mean, school does that a lot to people.
Yeah, the thing is that if there's a continual message by a mentor, someone that we trust, we buy into that belief, that kind of tape. Oh, I'm not good enough, or I'm stupid. And that becomes the mind talk. And so as the years go by into adulthood, there's that mind talk influencing us. Oh, making mistakes or bumbling. Oh yeah, I'm stupid. I always do that. I'm not good enough for my partner, and feeling not confident. So that kind of mind talk can be changed. When we become aware that, oh, I have a mind talk that's telling me I'm not worthy of success, or I'm not a confident person, that's the value of awareness. That's the value of conversation. It's like shining a light on our life, on our beliefs, on our mind talk. So in the book Heal Your Body by Louise Hay, she says you can change that mind talk. So you can say to yourself, well, I am grateful to release the old belief that I am not worthy, or I am not, that I am stupid. I'm grateful to be a channel of wisdom, of knowingness. I'm grateful to be confident, to be filled with confidence in challenging situations. So the mind talk changes. And then when the situation comes up, oh, I'm grateful to respond in a creative way to the situation.
Yeah, I think it's very important to, I mean, if people do have, I guess, negative thoughts about themselves, I guess it's very important to see those thoughts and deal with them and overcome them. I mean, you can't be going around with that kind of thinking about yourself in your daily life.
So many things come out of, how would I say it, negating mind talk. It negates our potential, negates our love, negates our health. And so in Louise Hay's book, Heal Your Body, she shows how you can change that mind talk, and as a result, those habits won't cause us trouble anymore because they won't be nurtured, they won't be fed. I don't really want to go into what her book talks about, in detail, but she claims that every part of the body, an illness in every specific part of the body, is asking us to look at a specific area of our life and examine the mind talk that we hold in that area. So, example, our feet represents the understanding that we have in life. And if we're having trouble understanding the challenges that we face today, I mean, politically and internationally and locally, then somebody might be having trouble with their feet. And so she says, look at that and say, change the mind talk. I handle the challenging situations with confidence, with ease. All is well. I let go of believing in the worst. I respond creatively to the challenges that are facing us politically, economically, environmentally. So that's one area. Another one, I'm just going to go on a little bit here, is the wrists. I once broke my wrist while I was leaving a partner, and I was having difficulty leaving my partner, and I looked up what a broken wrist meant. And she says it means that you're holding too tight. Your wrists are flexibility, letting go of the past, welcoming the future, are moving, flowing, letting go, releasing. Yeah. And I immediately tuned in and went, I release my partner. It's okay. I can let go with joy and move on. And
I just want to say, I looked at a couple of things in the book. I've got a knee problem, and I read what it said about knee, and I thought, yeah, it says it's sort of a personality thing, and I thought, yeah, that kind of sounds like me. Yeah. Luckily, it's a minor knee problem, and you know, I know somebody who had another problem that's listed in the book, and I thought, yeah, that sounds like their personality. So the book is called Heal Your Body. Heal Your Body, Louise L. Hay. Yeah. And you know, it
maybe
might be
my website. If you Google search the law of attraction, how affirmations work, Bill Woollam. I put it all down for people. I compile it so that people can go in there and do it personally. They don't, you know, you may not understand it all now, but you may have half an hour and you can read over some affirmations and how affirmations can be used to change your health. Because if we get what we believe and we don't believe in health, then we will not receive perfect health. But if a situation comes up and we say to ourselves, I welcome perfect health. I welcome every cell in this body lively and vibrant in the bliss of being. The body the reality attracts that. Our life attracts that. Maybe it takes some meditation, some yoga, some walking, some good eating, but we'll attract that into our life to usher in that new belief, that new affirmation.
Well, health is, I mean, what's more important than an individual's health to that person? So anyone who's watching this, I think you're saying that they can, part of building a better health is just to open yourself to it, as well as the exercise, as well as the good eating.
Changing the mind talk and actually consciously saying, I welcome this now. It's not about a prayer. A prayer is about the future. Maybe one day, please, Almighty, come. But an affirmation is, and this is important, the universe doesn't judge what we affirm, what we believe. The universe creates it. It manifests our beliefs. So when we say, I welcome this now, whatever that is, I gratefully usher in this now, or welcome this being now, the sale of my house. I gratefully welcome the sale of my home now to that person who gratefully welcomes purchasing my home. Or I gratefully welcome meeting that new partner who is respectful, who is generous, who is loving, who is kind, who's committed. Fill in the blanks, because if we only say, I welcome a partner now, we may end up with a partner who's not kind, not considerate, not respectful, and not committed. So the intention, once the intention is there, the universal creative aspect of life attracts that into being. Try it. Explore it, and like I say, Google search the law of attraction, how affirmations work, or the power of affirmations.
Okay,
Bill Woollam.
And Bill, W-O-O-L-L-A-M.
Yeah,
Bill
W-O-O-L-L-A-M.
So, I mean, to me, it sounds like attraction means that if you're thinking about good things, more good things are going to happen. Whereas if you're thinking more, I don't want to use the word negatively, but is that the law of attractions? You get what you are thinking of?
Yes, it's the secret.
Okay.
The secret is you receive what you believe. If you do not believe it, if you do not envision having that, then the universe won't provide it.
Give it to you. Okay.
So the initial stage, our responsibility is to imagine it. Imagine that which we desire. Imagine it into being. Maybe there might be a few little changes, but generally just imagine the general condition into being. Another thing is the law of abundance. A lot of people don't catch the law of abundance in the secret. The law of abundance is as you receive, so shall you give. As you give, so shall you receive. A lot of people don't believe in abundance, so they don't share their wealth, they don't pay their bills, they don't give just as a gift to social services maybe. They don't help their neighbor. And as a result, they leave a kind of enclosed life, an insulated life.
So you're saying that a good life will provide its own rewards to you and to the community.
Yeah, the law of abundance is, and it's been told to us many times, as you give, so shall you receive.
It's not told to us enough, you know, we don't hear that enough.
We don't believe it. That's
well,
why
I'm going to start to believe that. As you give, so shall you receive.
And,
yes.
And find out sometime. Go and find somebody, a relative. We'll send our relatives in the Philippines, my wife's Philippine. We'll send $100. Within the next few days, there's some kind of wealth that's come back to us. It's all the time in work, like we're kind of self-employed. And so my wife gets other clients, or I'll get some more farm work, which I love. And I mean, we're living on the edge, but we don't owe any bills. Our mortgage is almost paid because we don't try to steal from Paul to pay Peter. We take what we've earned and we put it back out there. And that's the law of abundance. Whereas people that are millionaires and billionaires often don't believe in the law of abundance, therefore they never have enough. They don't believe there's enough, they hoard their wealth, and they don't share it. And therefore, the society doesn't benefit from their presence. But I would say this to any wealthy person: it is your privilege to be able to share your wealth and create employment and create a life-supporting influence. It is your privilege.
Bill, I'm afraid we're out of time. Thank you so much. I hope that if we all start thinking about a better community, a better province, and a better and wonderful country and world, that can happen a little bit more than it seems to be happening right now. So let's all move in that direction. Thank you, Bill Woollam, and thanks to everyone for making this show possible. Thanks for watching Citizens Forum.